Back. I'm on a webinar and okay, bye.
Okay, I'm going to jump in and get started. It's 7 o'clock and we have a really nice crowd here tonight. Super excited to welcome you and to update you a little bit for those of you who are regulars to the Empowered Parent series. My name is Debbie Bergeron. I am Dr. B to some folks out there in the Head Start world. And prior to being here, you may or may not know that I was the director of the Office of Head Start during the last administration. And upon leaving that job, I was absolutely super excited to get an invite from the NHSA to come over here and continue a lot of the work that we were doing at OHS. I came on board in January and was so excited to be working with my old schoolmate, Dr. Bernardine Futrell. We had gone to college together years ago to get our PhDs. So I was excited. We circled back around, hadn't seen each other in a decade and a half. And I landed at NHSA and she left me. So there you go. She actually got the incredible honor of taking the director of Office of Head Start position. So you couldn't have planned this quite the way it turned out, but we basically swapped jobs. So she is now sitting in the Office of Head Start Director's chair, and I am here embracing all of the incredible things that Dr. Futrell was doing here at NHSA. So I'm super excited about this part. You all know, if you were involved at all in any of the parent conferences or things I was doing at OHS, that parents, I call you the secret sauce. You guys are it. You are what makes the difference really between Head Start and other programs, the way that Head Start embraces families and parents and really values parents as their child's first and most important teacher. And we, demonstrate that in lots of ways, but this is one of them where we say, hey, we need to make sure parents have good information so they can be their children's first and most important teachers. So very, very happy to be here with you this evening, and I will continue to support this Empowered Parent series. We have some exciting ideas for next year, so I hope you'll continue to join us. But for tonight, what a great kickoff event for me. We're going to talk about nutrition. We have the Dr. Yum Project here to join us. Dr. Yum Project is a pediatrician-founded nonprofit organization on a mission to help families overcome barriers to eating well. The most common being that healthy food doesn't taste good. It's hard to make it and it's expensive. So we've got the taste, the difficulty, and the expense. They are here to show how busy parents, just because you're busy doesn't mean that has to be true. They're going to show you how to provide a number of free resources on their website. So they're going to navigate their website, teach folks how to cook using more fruits and vegetables and the whole foods. And both they do that in person and online. They engage with physicians and other healthcare providers to serve as a resource for nutrition and food education to use in counseling their patients. They partner with organizations to help at-risk communities learn to cook and eat better. And we know nutrition is a big part of Head Start. That's in the standards, something that all of our programs try to work on at some level. I know we have some programs that do some incredible cooking classes and things like that. And what we're here to talk about tonight is developing curricula for schools, like research-based program that Dr. Yum's Preschool Food Adventure does. And it helps kids and their families learn to cook and eat fresh fruits and vegetables. So I'm very excited to join you tonight. I know as a parent, I have 4 children who are now no longer rely on me to feed them, but when they did, I can remember it being really challenging because it's just so much easier and feels less expensive to just go buy the easy, quick meals. Often it's not less expensive, and it certainly isn't as good for them. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Heidi. Heidi is passionate about connecting busy families with great resources to make their lives easier, healthier, and all around more fulfilling. Growing up with a younger brother diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 3, she knows firsthand how important it is to understand the connection between food and health and to empower families to celebrate the affordability, ease, and deliciousness of healthy, fresh food. Drawing on her background in marketing and nonprofit leadership, she is delighted to be a founding board member and project manager for the Dr. Yum Project, and couldn't be more proud of the impact the team has had on tens of thousands of families over the past 8 years. So it is really exciting for NHSA to be hosting this tonight for our parents. And so without further delay, I'm going to introduce Heidi. She's going to take over. I am here for the duration and I'll do some closing remarks. I would say if you would like to ask a question, you can put it in the chat. I'll keep an eye on the chat. And if I see something and we have time at the end, I can pull those out and try to highlight them for the folks here from Dr. Yum. And I'm sure they're happy to answer your questions if we have time to do that. So Heidi, take it away.
Thank you so much. We are so excited and so honored to be asked to be a part of this conversation tonight. I'm going to introduce two of our fantastic team members who are part of our team of experts that not only work on our preschool curriculum, but in almost every other aspect of the Dr. Yum Project. We've got Wendy Cannon, who is she's our early childhood educator and preschool program director. That's kind of her side job. And she also does her side job. Her work with the Dr. Yum Project also includes cooking instruction, community outreach, and new recipe development, and helping maintain our teaching garden. And she also serves as the preschool curriculum liaison for Dr. Yum's Preschool Food Adventure, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight. Sarah Moran is a registered dietitian, and she uses an intuitive eating and weight neutral approach to helping individuals and families take the stress out of eating, ditch diets, and enjoy food again. She is an invaluable part of our resources that we have, and she'll be going through a bunch of that with us tonight. She will do nutritional analysis for everything that we do with all of our recipes, and there's also a lot of input on what she does with our superpowers for our fruits and vegetables, which is a key part of the preschool nutrition curriculum for the students. And Laura Dove is also part of our team by extension. She is the supervisor for preschool programs for Fredericksburg City Schools in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And she has been leading the charge, having the preschool curriculum in the Head Start program here in Fredericksburg since 2016. And she's also, we had a parent who was going to join us tonight, and we apologize. She had a family emergency and had to bow out here earlier this afternoon. But Laura has been applying a lot of the language and a lot of the just kind of the practical aspects of the preschool curriculum in our own family, and can really speak to the impact that it has at home. So I will turn it over to these three wonderful experts.
Okay, thanks, Heidi. Hello, everyone. We are really, really excited to talk to you all tonight. And we're going to be sharing with you about the curriculum, but also sharing the resources with you, and really giving you all some practical tips and lessons that you can learn from the curriculum and how it works, and apply it at home with your kids as well. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and Wendy and I are going to go ahead and get this thing going. Okay, so Dr. Fernando, Dr. Yum is our founder. You'll see her little cartoon avatar here. And really, she started the Dr. Yum project because she was working as a pediatrician and seeing how so many of the children that she was working with were experiencing diet-related illnesses, but also, weren't just necessarily eating super well at home, and she wanted to be able to provide resources for them. So it started kind of informally with her starting her own website and sharing some recipes with families there. And that's where she really developed this vision that has now become the Dr. Yum Project, which is that eating well is a prescription for a healthy family, a healthy community, and a healthy world. And as things got going and it got started, and she was working with families and teaching cooking classes in the community, she really started to realize that it wasn't just about the individual child, that there's a whole system that every child lives within. So there's their own family, but also their school and their community and the broader world. And from this experience, she really started to realize, okay, we need to do more than just help the individual children and even their families, because there's so many factors here that impact our food choices and our overall health. And so that really became, how the Dr. Young Project has moved forward and the resources that we create. But it was also something that really led to the creation of Dr. Yum's Preschool Food Adventure.
And as Heidi said, I am a preschool director myself, and I teach 4-year-olds at a cooperative preschool here in Fredericksburg. And my introduction to Dr. Yum was at an early childhood training where she was talking about this idea she had to train teachers to teach children about healthy eating. And I was the first one to raise my hand to say, I would love to test this curriculum at my school whenever you create it. So 8 years ago, she did create it, and we became one of the very first test schools. Now, it has grown exponentially over these years, and we're in a lot more schools, and we're in the 6th edition of Dr. Yum's Preschool Food Adventure. But really what we're here to share with you is how this can make a difference if your child is not only hearing this from their pediatrician, but also from their teachers, and it's extending to the families. And the family culture is then spreading out to that community, how it really makes an impact exponentially. So, we're going to talk a little bit about how the curriculum was written. So Dr. Yum is not her real name. She's Dr. Nimali Fernando, but Yum is what she's known by around here. All the kids know Dr. Yum. And she had a great idea to write this curriculum with her friend, who is Melanie Potok, who's a leading speech and language pathologist who specializes in pediatric feeding. And so they really wanted to make sure that this curriculum was written with experts who understand how children learn to eat, and that eating is a developmental skill, just like learning to read and learning to ride a bike. And of course, you see Sarah here live, but also her avatar. Sarah's our registered dietitian who has consulted on all of the recipes in the curriculum and on our website, providing nutrition information, allergy information, and all of those things that a family might need for a recipe. And then of course, there's my avatar, and I have 20 years of experience in the preschool classroom. So just to give you all an idea of how this works in the classroom, we decided it would be fun to show you what a typical lesson looks like. And so this real secret behind the success of this curriculum, and really with any experience of learning about foods, is to realize that it has to be presented in a joyful way. And so, and in an exciting way that engages kids. So teachers, and of course, anyone who gets this curriculum is trained by the Dr. Yum team to present this curriculum so that they really learn how to present in a joyful and positive way to the kids that they're teaching. And not only do the teachers get training, but all of the parents are provided with training materials and a parent manual so that they know exactly what's happening in the classroom and can really continue that type of adventure at home. So this is a typical lesson. This is broccoli, and we're going to go on a broccoli adventure. And what the children do is they're able to touch and pass around and look at and feel what real broccoli looks like. They can sort of guess maybe how it grows, and then they see a graphic of how it does grow. And the teachers are able to share the information about how it grows, the superpowers that broccoli has. And then you'll notice there in the number 4 on that page, there's a little blue happy mat, and it's kind of, it's a mat that's shaped in a smile. And what we do is we make sure that with every recipe that's presented to children, and this is really important for you to translate at home, when you're creating recipes, a lot of times mixed up foods are very overwhelming for young children. And if you think about for kids, almost all of the foods are new foods, and they have to learn about them before they're willing to accept them. So we present all recipes as separate ingredients that the children can then taste and explore each separate ingredient before it ever gets mixed up into a complete whole recipe. And I'm going to let Sarah tell you about the superpowers.
Yes, so superpowers are what we call vitamins and minerals and fiber in the preschool curriculum. And it's really an important part of how the curriculum works is teaching children about nutrition, because young kids really can learn nutrition concepts. Of course, we're always presenting them in an age appropriate way that they can understand, but they can understand nutrition concepts early on, understand how food has all these little things in it that your body needs, and that we get those when we eat food, and that it helps our body do what our body needs to do. So we present the superpowers with different graphics so that it's really easy for the kids to start to understand what the different nutrients do for their body. And so these are some of them here, but vitamin A helps your eyes see. Vitamin C fights germs. So they all have a little chant that goes with them too. So it's just making it easy for kids to understand how these nutrients impact their body right now. A very popular one is vitamin K heals your cuts and scrapes, because little kids are always falling down, scraping their elbow, scraping their knee. And so they get really excited when they learn that, like, oh, vitamin K helps my cuts heal. And it's something that's really tangible and related to their everyday experience that they can kind of latch onto and starting to understand that the food they eat does things for their body. We also incorporate other skills that kids learn that are important. And this is something to think about when you are cooking with kids, is remembering that there's a lot of other skills that come in with cooking and exploring food. Hand washing is one of those. More important than ever right now, we want to make sure that we have good hand washing skills and we're doing it regularly. So things like that naturally fall into the process of preparing food together. And so kids can pick up those other skills. And I will give a note too on the nutrition information. Something that's really important to remember and that we use in the curriculum is that when you are teaching kids about nutrition information, we want to teach about those things away from mealtime. So not when we're eating, but we're learning about nutrition when we're shopping or preparing food or growing food or just talking about food, that education is happening at other times. That's the way we do it in the curriculum. Children are learning about that stuff at circle time. And while they're, first checking out those individual ingredients, they make the recipe. And then when it's time to eat, they that's not the time to teach nutrition concepts. Really, when we're eating together, that time is about just enjoying the food, enjoying each other's company, building those connections, because when we eat together, we're really forming important bonds, and food is something that can bring people together. So that's another thing that you can apply at home, is teaching nutrition lessons when you're doing all those various things that are related to food, but not when you're actually sitting down to eat the meal.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, just to circle back to what Sarah was talking about now, is that food can be a source of stress or anxiety for many children. And it can also be a source of stress and anxiety for parents as you worry about, is my child eating enough? Are they eating the right things? Are they eating a big enough variety? And so that combined stress of the child feeling stressed about eating and the parent feeling stressed about wanting them to eat can make meal times not joyful. And so, what we find in the preschool classroom, what we're doing is introducing these foods and their superpowers and how they look and feel, and we're chopping them, and we're doing all of that stuff in the classroom time. But when it comes down to snack time, when we're actually going to serve ourselves and sit down together, it's about just, table manners and appropriate table conversation, which is a big thing with preschoolers, and sharing food with friends is really what it's about. And so it is a really important thing to bring that home, realize that you don't want to be sitting at the dinner table saying, eat those carrots because it's going to help your eyes to see. And if you don't eat those carrots, you're not going to be able to see. That just puts an extra layer of pressure. So the next 2 pages that you see here on the graphic, the Fun with Broccoli page is a lot about what Sarah was talking about, in that every cooking lesson, there are a whole lot of other things going on besides making food. They're practicing fine motor skills, whether they're tearing some kale or where they're chopping some broccoli, they're using those fine motor skills. They are getting math skills when they're measuring, using measuring spoons and measuring cups. And the social emotional development cannot be overstated when you're cooking together, because it's really about teamwork, whether you're doing this at home and your family is the team putting the meal together, or whether you're at school and the team is your classmates. And what happens that we see all the time at school is the more bold children about food are going to be the encouragers of the children who are a little more hesitant to be involved or to taste. You can also see there's a Coach Mel tip that comes with every lesson, and that really always applies to some particular special needs that may show up in preschoolers. So the other side, the extension side, is really how the teachers are able to thread these food lessons throughout the rest of the preschool classroom, in art, in their books that they're reading, in music and movement, in science experiments and growing things, in maybe field trips or community visitors that might come to the classroom. And then also really understanding that food grows all over the world, and there is different cultures that experience the same foods in different ways, and really respecting those between all of the students in your classroom. So I love this picture so much, because this helps you to see a little bit about how we encourage that sensory activity with all cooking experiences. So these two guys are from my class, and they are actually getting the pomegranate arils out of the pomegranate. The pomegranate is floating in water, and they're able to get their hands down in there and pop the arils out. And it's just the way, to see the kids when you hold a pomegranate whole and then you open it up and they see those jewels inside, and then they are able to get their hands in the water and pop those out. And then, you know what? They're a lot more likely to pop one of those in their mouth on their dinosaur teeth and give it a crunch and see how it tastes. So we really see how involving all five senses in exploring food makes a huge difference in whether they're willing to taste. And just another example of my kids doing activities. This was making our dinosaur kale salad. So you can see I have kids in the background that are playing with dinosaurs. They're kids you can't see on the other art table. They're marching their dinosaurs through paint and making paint prints. And then the kids that are here with me at the table are tearing kale and drying kale in the salad spinner.
So chopping together is another thing that really we emphasize in the curriculum, and really anytime we're working with children, and it's something that you can use at home too. So we love these particular knives. They're shaped like a puppy. They're a great tool. Having a child-safe knife is a big game changer, because when children can be involved even more, then it just makes it more of a deeper experience for them. So of course, young children can help with tearing and pouring and measuring and stirring, but having the child-safe knife kind of takes it to the next level. And they're getting that fine motor skill like Wendy was talking about. But really, when it comes to the knives, it's also a time to teach safe knife skills from an early age. So we always instruct the kids to hold the knife in the same hand that they would hold their crayon or their pencil. With the puppy knives, the puppies have little ears on there, so we tell them to put their finger and their thumb on the puppy's ear, and his tail goes up in the air, and the teeth are pointing down. And then with their other hand, that's their kitty paw, and they can tuck in their claws to keep their claws safe, and that's what they're going to hold the produce item with while they're chopping. And then, of course, there's other knife safety things outside of chopping, like we keep the knife on the cutting board except for when we're using it, how to carry knives properly. All of those different types of lessons can be learned. And then as a child develops those safe knife skills, when they are ready to graduate up to a larger knife that does have a sharp blade, they already know how to be safe with it because they learned it on the child safe knife starting out. all those years ago. So with these particular knives, we use them, starting at age 3 in our teaching kitchen and in the preschool curriculum. So things like that can really make a big difference in helping your child be more involved at a young age, but also setting that foundation. So they're, stacking these skills on top of each other as they get older, eventually to the point where they are an adult themselves and are going to be in charge of preparing their own food.
Yeah. And when we, you can see my little cutie there, he's doing such a great job holding that grape and cutting. And, the kids feel so much empowerment from being able to chop all the food themselves in the recipes. They're really, really excited about it. And even the kids who are more hesitant to, maybe they won't taste, and that's fine, but they're coming over and they're getting that sensory input by holding the produce and chopping it. And one thing that's really important for parents and teachers to understand is that by involving the children in the cooking process, you are building positive memories around food. And those positive memories will then translate into their later in life. And, we don't all like all the same foods, but we can learn to like a lot more foods as we age. So, so those positive food memories are really important. And when Sarah gives us our website tour, she'll be able to show you where you can find those puppy knives if you wanted to get some for home. So this is something that is really great for our project. It is called our Yum Score. And what we think is vital for parents and for teachers to learn is how to talk to children about trying foods. And so we say things like, don't yuck someone else's yum. And we say, oh, I don't care for that yet. I'm still practicing. So what we can say to kids when it comes to a yum score is that, when you first try something, it might feel like a yuck or even a super yuck in your mouth. But with practice, you can move that yuck maybe to an okay, and maybe someday you can move it to a yum or a super yum. So it's really all about just building that that understanding for kids that just because you don't like something now doesn't mean you're never going to like it.
And, as adults, we can do this too. Not all of us like all the same foods, but we can always keep practicing. Wendy and I both have personal stories of foods that we have practiced into adulthood and finally got them to a point where they were an okay or even a yum. So you can, explore food with your children as well and kind of create that environment of being food explorers, being excited to try new foods, that the whole process is fun and that it's not something that ever ends, because even as adults, there's always new foods that we're being introduced to or new cuisines that we haven't experienced before. And really celebrating how fun it is to explore those new foods together.
Yeah, and we do like to encourage kids not to yuck someone else's yum, because kids are exposed to lots of their friends' foods who may come from a different cultural background and maybe eat very different types of foods. And we want to always say that, if you're yucking someone else's yum, maybe you're going to hurt their feelings because this is their absolute favorite thing. So, so we really want to teach that kindness around food. And that's an easy way to do it. The Yum Score is a great thing that you can download off of our website too, and you can use that right at home. So the very last 2 pages of every lesson in the curriculum this is the part that goes home with parents. So you get a copy of the recipe, what the children prepared in the classroom, and you get this parent feedback sheet, which is so exciting because it really tells you, hey, today Sarah enjoyed broccoli. And the teachers can talk to the kids about, hey, how did this look when you were making it? How did it feel? How did it smell? How did it sound to you when you were chopping that broccoli? And then there's some other options in the taste. Enjoyed the lesson, may taste next time. Enjoyed tasting separate ingredients, or enjoyed tasting the completed recipe. And then there's a place where the teacher can put some specific notes about that. And it really is amazing from the teacher side. When I send those feedback sheets home, how excited the parents are to say, wow, I can't believe that my child tried kale today, or whatever it is. And then the fact that the recipe goes home, oftentimes we'll see broccoli salad coming back into the classroom that kids have made at home because they loved it so much from school. And here's just another picture, just so you can see cute kids stirring mango salsa.
And so then the other thing is really understanding why this type of approach works. So whether it's in the classroom or in the home, all the tips we've been giving you are backed up by research. So we, of course, have our anecdotal experience, but the research really backs it up as well. So with the Dr. Yum curriculum, we had 9 questions that we asked in the research that was done on the curriculum. And this was just for 9 lessons. So the curriculum has 24 lessons. It can happen over 2 years, but for 9 lessons, these are some common questions that are asked in this type of research about children's attitudes and behaviors around food. So I won't read them all to you. You can, look over them yourself, but they're about how children feel about food, whether they enjoy tasting new food, if they automatically decide they don't like something, even if they've never even tried it. And, as we were having the research done and looking at these questions and getting the pre and the post information from the teachers, we were hoping that maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of them would come back as being, a statistically significant change from before and after. But what we found really excitingly is that all 9 of them were actually a statistically significant improvement for the children. So that was really exciting for us because it just kind of confirmed what we had already experienced from implementing the curriculum, that this type of approach really does make a big difference in helping children to become friends with foods and to have a really positive feeling about food and trying new food. And this is just how you can stay connected with us. So staying in touch with us on Facebook, Instagram, on the website, dryum.org, or on the YouTube channel, or all of them. They're all great places to hang out just so you can be connected. Because in addition to the preschool curriculum, we have a lot of resources. And we're going to be sharing that with you in a little bit, but I'm going to stop sharing right now because we do have Laura Dove here who can speak to her experience implementing the curriculum. So we can turn it over to Laura and you can share what your experience has been like.
Great. So we were a pilot Head Start program that piloted in 2016 school year, and we put it into every classroom. So we had it in our Head Start and VPI classrooms, which is Virginia Preschool Initiative. So it was in 12 classrooms. And the way it started off first, it was definitely a learning curve for us. It went in as like a large group activity, and we only had 2 puppy dog knives per classroom. And luckily we had a great director of food service who provided the fresh fruits and vegetables for us to do the lessons, but they were whole and teachers had a lot of prep work. So our first year was kind of learning and figuring out those kinks with a classroom of 17 or 18 3- and 4-year-olds can be kind of tough. And luckily Dr. Yum Project worked very closely with us. And, the next year we tried to tweak a couple things and choose some recipes that worked well with the tools we had. And the 3rd year, we really locked it down to a science. I brought some of my teachers to go visit Wendy's class doing a lesson and see how that well-oiled machine worked. And then they were kind of empowered to bring it back to their classroom and do it there and kind of spread that word. And so what she did it as was like a small group. So kids could kind of come and do it as they wanted. And as they saw other kids doing it, they wanted to get involved as the prepping and the cutting and really having that small conversation with their teacher and engage that way. And then as a whole group, they did the lesson at circle time, and then they put it together and tried it all together during like meal time. And that completely was a game changer for our program. And the other really nice fact is we had prepped the happy mats that they showed you, that smiley face mat was definitely not prepped correctly with our program. And I think that was a huge game changer for kids and trying these things separate. It looked beautiful. So kids were like, I want to eat that right away. And they couldn't wait to get into it. That was very huge. And the teachers left it out so kids could kind of come and go and try it as they wanted it. And that really helped. And teachers got way more involved with the lesson in the small group, because you really got to work on those knife skills and those other skills that are really important for children. But with 17 and waiting for their turn with a knife, by the time they got that knife, their patience were gone. So we got some more knives in every child and materials and set it up. And luckily, our partners with the cafeteria service and all of that really helped to make this a huge lesson. But I can tell you, just from looking, because I'm a data person, I always have to crunch numbers. And so looking at our BMI for the first 2 years, this kind of kickstarted our whole healthy eating initiative with our program. And so the first 2 years, we dabbled in it, but the third year we really dove head start and got our garden going, worked with a fun food academy for our parents. And we went from 60 children each year, the first 2 years, who changed their BMI and jumped immediately to over 100. So more than 75% of our program decreased their BMI after we really engaged in this lesson and really brought it full circle with all of our other programs. So it has a huge potential for helping families. I buy in completely to Dr. Young. My kids now go to Namali Fernando as a pediatrician, and I have puppy dog knives in my drawer that my kids know how to use. My daughter is 2 years and 3 months, and she can do her little kitty claw on that, and she cuts her whole pepper up and dips into hummus, because that's the only way she will eat a pepper, is if she can cut it up herself. So it really is a great program, and it really helps children get into eating healthy by using those 5 senses. It is really, really great for that. My children had feeding issues. My daughter had feeding issues since birth. And so she started on whole foods at 4 months, but being able to use her senses with that and do it herself really let her eat a lot more fruits and vegetables, I noticed, because as I diced them up, she was like, yeah, no, I'm not touching that. But if she gets to use her knife, she'll eat whatever it is I put in front of her. So I am definitely a firm believer in it. And our program, I have to say, even our teachers were really hesitant on some of them. This is just reminding me of one teacher. I was observing her classroom during the lesson, and she had never tried avocado. And she was like, I am not eating this. Like, there is no way. And so I just quietly said, you're setting the tone for this. If you don't try it and use your yum scale, then they're not going to want to try it. And she was like, I don't get paid enough for this. And she tried it and she enjoyed it. And I was like, right here, it's proof in the power of what this program can do. She had never touched it. The texture of it kind of freaked her out, but then she tried it separately and then all together in the recipe later, and was like, now I think I might buy some avocados. So it does work.
Laura, thank you for sharing that. So we really appreciate hearing that. And I see the same thing as it, I'll put my teacher hat on too, since we weren't able to have the mom join us to tell us about how her children experienced it in the classroom. But I have seen sort of a ripple effect, because what happens is, as a cooperative teacher, I have a lot of returning families that come to my preschool. So, I'll have a student, and then 2 years later, I'll have the sibling. And then another year later, I'll have the next sibling. And it is amazing how the family dynamic around food changes once they've been introduced to this idea of involving children in the cooking process and in having those positive experiences, those positive sensory experiences around exploring food. And so I can say recently, in one of our free Zoom cooking classes that we're doing at night, I had 2 former students on there, and the oldest one ran to her room and got her notebook where she's printing out recipes and building her own recipe book. Some are Dr. Yum recipes, but some are other recipes that she's exploring from other websites or other cookbooks. But it really does change. Especially when we can get to them in the preschool years, to change the food culture and the acceptance of new foods.
And the feedback form, I will say, is that conversation starter for at home. As parents, we don't know kind of what goes on at their day. And when a kid gets home, they're like, yeah, it was good. And that was about all you get. So this at least gives you talking points to start that conversation and get that child excited about the recipe that they just did at school. And did they try it? What did it smell like? What did it taste like? To ask those questions to kind of re-engage that. And we've heard from parents that that helped. And then that weekend they wanted to make the recipe again.
That's
I think
amazing.
the feedback sheet done well is great for parents to really get that conversation going at home.
Yeah, and for all the Head Start parents who are joining us from all over, Sarah's going to be able to show you our website and show you that you can really do a lot of this at home by just grabbing some of our great recipes. You can click on the Kids Club. You'll show Sarah, but they can see the recipes. You can see in our store where the knives are, and you can start kind of doing this adventure at home.
Right. And I
That
mean,
would
I
be
think
great
that's,
because I think we have people who want to see where they can get a knife.
Yeah.
So I know that's on the
Yeah.
website, right? Great.
yes, we can, I'll go ahead and share that and start getting you guys oriented to the website. Cause Wendy's right, this type of approach works so well in the preschool classroom because you have that peer interaction that's going on and it's so wonderful. And kids, are spending time at school, right? And they're having meals there. But the at home part is so important too. And that's something really that everyone can do at home. So let's get the website. So I'm going to share my screen again. So this is what the Dr. Yum website looks like. And I'm just going to give you a quick rundown just so you're aware of what's going on, what kinds of things you might be able to find. So we do have our virtual celebration coming up. So if you want to come hang out with that, the info's there for that. But as you're hanging out on the website, there's a lot of tools here that can help you with cooking at home. So to go over some of the highlights, Meal-O-Matic here, this is our free tool to help you create a custom recipe with what you have on hand. And we do classes, virtual classes that anyone can join from wherever over Zoom that use the Meal-O-Matic format. So I'll show you in a minute where you can sign up for classes, but this is what, these classes are based on. So Meal-O-Matic has these 7 different meal formats, and it's really help you look in your fridge or pantry and create a delicious recipe with what you have. So let's say we're doing stir fry maker. It walks you through what you're going to need. So you're going to need a high heat oil. You're going to need some of these aromatic things. So you can just click on what you have in the fridge, what you have in the pantry, and just go through. And maybe you have a couple carrots left, you have half a squash, half a bell pepper, because at the end of the week you always have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or things that quite didn't get finished. If you want to jazz up your sauce, maybe we're going to add some brown sugar. I'm going to do pepper flakes because I like a little spicy. And then what kind of toppers do you have? Maybe you have some peanuts or you have some cilantro. Then you click ready for the next step. And this is where the Meal-O-Matic works its magic. And it's going to take all that information that you put in about what you have in your fridge, what you have in your pantry, and it generates a custom recipe for you. So you get your ingredients list, you get the method, and all of the custom ingredients you put in are highlighted. So it's really easy to see where you want to add those custom items. But then there's a quick video with Dr. Fernando showing you an example stir fry. So if you've never made stir fry before and you want to kind of see what's going to happen, you can watch that sped up version and get an idea of what you're going to be doing. And so with the 7 makers and all of those endless combinations within them, it gives you a lot of options to create delicious meals with just what you have around. And it's, I think, especially helpful right now while we're all, trying to go to the store less. We're not making those quick trips maybe to run out that we would have done in the past. It's really going to help you get the most out of what you have at home already.
And it's really our part of our mission is to help show people how to reduce food waste. And that, you're always going to be able to find something that you can pull together from the items you have in your fridge and your pantry and make a meal.
Right. So that's Meal-O-Matic. There's so much on the website. So, I definitely encourage you to explore it on your own, but we do have a new home edition version of the Food Adventure. That's a monthly lesson. So that's there. Favorite foods is great. If you maybe are exploring avocado for the first time or asparagus for the first time, or just need some new ideas, basically what you do, we'll pick asparagus because I just said it. It gives you some of our favorite mostly produce items and some other foods, and you can learn what does it do in terms of nutrition? How do I store it? Where does it come from? How can I eat it? So it can give you that orientation to a new food and figure out what to do with it. You see which of the mealomatics use that food. And then you also see the recipes on the Dr. Yum website that have that ingredient. So you can get some ideas and learn, get some ideas of how you could use that item. So that's favorite foods. We, of course, have our recipe section. So you can go to the recipes. Mealomatic is great for using what you have, but if you want like a specific recipe or you're looking for something in particular, you can just browse and kind of see what's going on. You can also search if there's a particular ingredient you need, or you can filter by tag. So if you're just looking for breakfast, or maybe you're just looking for lunches or dinners, you can filter that way. There's also some nutrition-based tags. So if you need allergy friendly, this filters out all of our recipes that have that are free of the top 8 allergens or have a simple substitution listed in the ingredients that you can make to make it allergy friendly. We also have a baby food tag. So if you have babies at home that are starting to get to that age where they're exploring food, this filters out recipes that have a simple modification to make that appropriate for a new eater. And Dr. Fernando writes all of these. So you can learn, how can I present this to my whole family? And it really allows you to have one meal for one family, which is something we really believe in, that, for the grown-ups at home, not being a short order cook, but preparing a meal and then everyone enjoying together. So when you go to the recipe, that's here at the bottom. Every recipe has other info like the prep time, the cook time, nutrition information that you can click on and open that up. Yum scores from real people, including kids. You'll see if it's a kid, then we list their age on there. So there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of filter the recipes depending on what you need. But that's just a quick example of that. And then also there are blog posts and handouts that you can access. So definitely check out the blog for cooking tips, but also, other pieces of information from the team. This is the Baby Food Adventures, or the Baby Food webinar. So this is free for anybody. It's Dr. Fernando recorded webinar. You can watch it on demand. So again, if you have people who are exploring baby food, that's a great resource. Handouts that you can download and print with nutrition tips, cooking tips, all kinds of stuff like that. So that's there that anyone can access. If you want more info about the curriculum, I saw there were a few questions about the curriculum in particular. This has all of those details. So if you want to kind of get a feel for what's happening there, if you want to learn about the research more, I saw some questions about that. You can find information about that there. We have videos if you're a video person. And if you want the knives, you go down to the bottom here, shop our store. And this will take you to our store. If you click here into the Amazon store, all of our favorite tools are here, including kitchen gadgets, books, things specifically for preschoolers, all kinds of things. So that's kind of the place to go if you want to get the knives. You can see them here. They come in different sets. You can get a single, serrated and non-serrated, one that comes with these little like herb scissors. So there's a couple different variations there. And then the last thing I'll show you, and we'll do some questions if there are questions. If you have questions and you haven't put them in the chat, definitely this is the time to do that, because we want to answer some questions if we can. So if you want to do classes, the Mealomatic classes, like I mentioned, go to the menu over here, just click on classes, and you can access some of the other resources via the menu as well. This is where you can get info about upcoming classes and sign up. So we have pasta night coming up next week. The classes, there's no charge for the classes, but you do need to register because we limit the number of seats so we can keep it a nice cook along experience where people can ask questions easily. But also that's how we send you the information about, like, make sure you have pasta for pasta class or whatever the details are. That's how you get the link to the class. So if you want to attend those, you can register. We do have our Parenting for Wellness series. So if you're interested in these kind of ideas about like how to parent around food, that class is a 4-week class. And so that will be coming up here soon as an option too. So that's kind of a lot of what's on the website, like I said, definitely explore and dig around into the recipes and everything, but that's the highlights of everything that's there.
Yeah. And so just so that you all know, we are in 40 Head Start programs already in 8 different states, but we would love Dr. Yum's Preschool Food Adventure to be the #1 choice for Head Start programs everywhere. So I don't know where all of you are joining from, but if you think this would be something that your program would be interested in learning more about, please send them to our website to look at how they could bring the adventure to your program.
This has been fantastic.
Oh, I was gonna say, I saw someone put in the chat about food therapy, and I have to say, speaking from the Head Start program, we had a child who was very involved in food therapy. And after they did our Dr. Yum lessons for the year, they would bring it back and forth to food therapy, the recipes, and try to engage with those vegetables, and it, kind of make it all work together. And the child, the next year, we learned that when they went to kindergarten, stopped having to go to food therapy, was eating. So definitely bring this up with your food therapist.
This has been such good
story.
information. The website in particular, Sarah, I'm so glad you were able to share it, because I think that's the kicker, and people can go on their own and investigate. And then I'm sure there's a way to contact if they have questions. Certainly, you are welcome. If you need any support, NHSA is here for you. I mean, that's what this whole point of this is, but I'm sure there's direct contact too. I did see a question about languages. I saw Spanish and English for now. So that's something that folks had a question about. I think we answered the question on where to buy the knives.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions. One is, if you are doing a class and you have the recipe and you've got the ingredients and you have a child who's got an allergy, but you're trying to do something as a group, what is your approach to that? I was trying to imagine as a teacher trying to accommodate the allergy, but not make the child feel like they're left out of the building of the recipe.
So I can speak to this. Most of the 24 recipes that we've chosen to be in the preschool curriculum are free of the top 8 allergens.
Okay.
But oftentimes students may have an allergy that is different than those top. You might have a kid who's allergic to strawberries or pineapple. And so what we do is, in the teacher training, we make sure that we tell all of our participants, the teachers, to reach out to us, because they can consult with Sarah to find an appropriate substitution. The other thing is that the curriculum is so flexible that if you have 24 lessons to choose from, you could just not do the lesson that had that allergen item for that class.
And the lessons also do have allergy notes for some of the things that we can anticipate that are more typical, some or occur more often in the classrooms that teachers might experience. So sometimes it's as easy as just a simple substitution. Instead of using an egg-based mayo, because there's an egg allergy, use a vegan mayo that doesn't have egg. Problem solved. You make the recipe the exact same way, and it doesn't really affect anything.
Great. That is fantastic. The other question I have might be half question, half comment. I'm just curious about this from an instructional standpoint. As you were going through those lessons, I saw enormous opportunity for cross-curriculum work, like in math and language. Do you do any of that through the site, or would that be just something that the ed manager or teachers could do on their own? Certainly, but I just wondered if you've thought about that, or if that's any part of it.
Yeah, I would say the way that we've expanded the curriculum over the different editions is that addition of those extension ideas. And, because we consulted with real teachers, it's a curriculum that works, but it also is very flexible in how you use it. So as Laura mentioned, I use it as a centers-based thing. So I do like large group instruction on, this is the thing we're learning about. We pass around, we talk about it. Then we go to centers, and I sort of theme a lot of what's going on in my classroom with that. But whatever that fruit or vegetable that you have for the focus for that month, you can really extend that lesson throughout the month or throughout the week, or, just highlight a day. But yeah, all of those other things, math, literacy, just
so much opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And also I I noticed something. I don't know, again, if you actually tapped into class or not, but you know, the class tool is what Head Start, the Office of Head Start uses to do monitoring. And it seemed through the little bit of the tour we got, there's a lot of teacher interaction going on, which is the focal point of class. Like, it's all about the back and forth between children and teachers. Looks like there's a lot of opportunity to really display those skills.
Yes,
So
it's a high engagement. Laura, you can.
I was going to say, being like a certified rater, those are some of my favorite observations to do, because hands down there, those interactions, it's the easiest one to score for class, because
That's what I was just thinking.
it's like, oh yeah, you're doing a Dr. Young lesson, I'm coming in for that, because I mean, it's spoon feeding class in that interactions during those. It is great for
super. So lots of nice connections to Head Start and the requirements and framework around what we do beside the nutrition piece. There's just a lot of ways to extrapolate that out. So somebody had said, if they're interested, obviously they can go to the website, but is there do you want to put an email in the chat or something to make it a little bit easier for folks to reach out to you before we close up?
Yeah,
I think that might be nice.
Yeah, I put it in there. It's Heidi. So it's my name, HEIDI @dryum.org. So
that's easy.
Feel free. And if you forget that, you can do info@dryum.org. They both
okay. So this is really very fun. This is so much fun. I'm excited to see where this goes. I know our folks who are here on the call, you're probably going to get swamped with requests. And then as NHSA, we'll circle back around and see what else we can do together to continue, you know, the outreach and making sure folks know about the program. I think it's an exciting prospect. We've got a lot of things that we do with our membership base and lots of opportunity.
That's fantastic. And I'm just so thrilled to have this opportunity to have these guys share all their great information with you.
Yeah.
And we
just hope everyone will go to the website and look around and use it and come to the Zoom cooking classes. You'll see me and Sarah there, and we can make dinner together. It'll be fun.
Awesome.
The one thing I do have to say for Head Start, I saw there's a lot of people who work for Head Start here. It's a great way to kind of connect the nutrition piece of Head Start and start that, whether you have a garden with this in the classroom, with parenting cooking classes, to kind of bring it all in together and connect all those pieces. We found that this was like the missing piece for us in the classroom of all of our other nutrition pieces. So for those of you that work with Head Start, it really brings it full circle.
Laura,
I think most of us do.
Laura has some really great BMI data.
Yeah, she shared that. Yeah.
Oh, she shared. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she did.
You know, Laura, I was actually gonna say, Laura, I will probably connect with you offline, because I think having a teacher, someone who is a Head Start person, using this for folks in Head Start, they're, you know, early education is generally similar, but Head Start is its own little animal. So we know it's special and has some, you know, different kinds of requirements. So I think having Laura as a resource is just invaluable to us and to this group. And I can't thank you enough for doing this, because we know that if you're doing your Head Start work during the day, that by 7 o'clock, you must be tired. So thank you so much for coming out and supporting this night. And thanks to all of the Dr. Yum folks for being here. Heidi, fantastic coordinating with you. Thank you to our over 100 participants who showed up. Yay. And you know, this is my first Empowered Parents series, being new to NHSA. So this has been a lot of fun. We'll look for some follow-up and see what else we can do together. And for folks in the audience here, that whether you're a parent or a teacher, nutrition support, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly at NHSA. Dee Bergeron at NHSA.org or through the website. I'm here for you.